Hello, my name is Serene, and today we're going to be reading The Coven by Harper L. Woods. Now, I've read a dark romance before. I can't say I've had a lot of experience with the genre, but I've read a dark romance before, and in fact, this right here is the big ticket right here. Dark from Rue Nix, the author of Gothicana. I've read Gothicana before, and it wasn't very good. It was not very good at all. So, yeah, we're gonna jump in on this. So, before we do that, we're gonna read this little bit here, which is Willow Mediza never thought she'd accept a place in Hollows Grove University, a secret prestigious institution where the best and brightest of her fellow witches learn to wield their magic. But Willow has her own reasons for being at Hollows Grove beyond the education it offers. Raised to be a weapon against the coven that presides over the university, she must find her bones of her ancestor in order to reclaim the magic that is her destiny. Her only obstacle is Alaric Grayson Thorne, the university's beautiful and infuriating headmaster. Gray is ruthless, manipulative, dangerous. He represents everything Willow has been taught to despise. But despite their mutual loathing, Gray understands Willow better than anyone, and he might be the key to unlocking her full power. Which I guess sounds like an interesting premise, but I've read Gothicana. I know where this is probably going to be heading. So yeah, we're just gonna jump in and see what's going on with this. Yeah. So let's get to it. So here are the trigger warnings for The Coven. It is a dark paranormal romance with gothic vibes in a dark academia setting. The male lead in the series is pushy, domineering, and manipulative. He goes beyond my typical morally gray anti-hero and is, in my opinion, an actual villain who gets his happily ever after. The triggers include dubious consent, force feeding, graphic violence, rough and explicit content, forced proximity, betrayal, which is really weird. It was a weird trigger. References to past abuse and dramatic reactions to triggering stimuli, knife violence, graphic depictions of blood, physical harm inflicted upon the main character, and ritualistic murder. So we'll see how well these triggers go on with this story, but consider yourself warned before we go into this. So we're introduced to Alaric Grayson Thorne, and from now on I'm just going to call him Thorne. We're introduced to his perspective in the prologue. And apparently there are these two characters. There is Susanna Mediza and George Collins, who are skeletal figures, at least as described. And Susanna, her whole thing is apparently her neck is tipped at an unnatural angle where it's apparently snapped when they hanged her when she was alive. So I can't help but to look at that and just go, wow, I just have this really funny looking image of her in my head, because obviously one's head is not on right when they are hung, and I just think, man, they could have done something nice for this girl, and apparently they just didn't. So yeah, it's an interesting characterization of the character. So we end the prologue with an interesting and very weird premise where apparently they're opening up the school not for the education of the witches, well, although that might be a reason, but they're opening up the school for apparently kids can breed with each other. Yeah, because we get this little tidbit here where it's, if we do not open our doors again, the witches will have no one left to breed with. If we die out, so will your kind. Do not forget that you require the blood of our people to sustain you, Alaric. And yeah, we're not opening it up for the education or any of that. No, we're opening it up to breed with people. So that's fun. Very fun. So in chapter 2, we are in Thorne's perspective, and they're talking about specifically getting witches for the school. And we're introduced to the color coordinated system of the witches. So, for example, his men had successfully collected two whites who had channeled via crystal, purples the cosmic witches, grays who channeled with air, blues who channeled with water, reds witches, and yellows who channeled fire outside of the magical barrier surrounding Crystal Hollow. I feel like it's a little cheesy to color coordinate the witches instead of just, I don't know, calling them something cool. But yeah, that's their thing, I guess. Then it goes on to talk about the families of the witches. Like, I'm gonna remember all of this. Apparently, I'm pretty sure none of this is gonna come up in the story. Maybe the only one that'll matter is House Hecate, which, of course, they would use the Greek goddess of magic in their story to describe a house that is magical. But anyway, I'm pretty sure House Hecate will be the only one that matters because they are the Blacks. They're the Blacks. They are the necromancy family. But apparently they're all dead from the massacre that occurred 50 years ago when the school was last open. Going on in this chapter, we get a physical description of Willow, the main protagonist, from a folder that Thorn receives. And he's examining it. And I thought the protagonist of Gothicana was O.C. Donut Steele. No, man. We've got a real O.C. Donut Steele here. Shocking, mismatched eyes stare back at me. The left a faint pale purple, the right a shock of sparkling like liquid gold. So she's got heterochromia for some reason, because of course she does, for literally no other reason, just because she can. They were firmly embedded and upturned at their outer corners, surrounded by olive skin. Now, I know what olive skin is, so disclaimer, I know what olive skin is. I know people can have olive skin. It's not literally green skin, but I can't help but to think that she's like got green skin, like her liver is failing her or something. So please pardon me, but I can't help it. It's just my imagination. Her hair fell in full waves around her shoulders, a deep mahogany that was almost purple, almost black, shining against the ebony leather jacket she wore to cover up the first hand of fascinating curves. Brother, you don't need to go with the fascinating curves. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, bro? So flipping over to chapter 3, we're in Willow, aka our main protagonist's perspective. And she gets a knock at her door, and guess who it is? It's your boy Thorn. Thorn here is in a brief description is, he was beautiful and infuriating, a disaster waiting to happen. His skin was flawless, not a mark or scar in sight. His mouth was plump and masculine, a shock of perfect white teeth peeking through as he tried to make himself appear unassuming. He wore a suit looking far too overdressed for my porch in the woods of Vermont, but it somehow suited him. I couldn't imagine something as mundane as jeans covering the lean muscle of his form, his ethereal, non-natural beauty standing out like an angel fallen from grace. Which absolutely is not foreshadowing at all to the big reveal at the end of the story, but we'll get to that. So in chapter 4, we're in the perspective of Thorn now, having this argument on the porch. And our boy Thorn here, is kind of checking her out in a kind of way that I would not want to be looked at. Especially with this part here, my pressing against my slacks as I responded to the strange woman.
Look at all those chickens.
I let my gaze trail down her form, taking in the swells of her curves one by one. Her breasts were large, the line of her cleavage peeking out from the top of her tank top tantalizing. Her body curved outward at her waist and hips, her thighs thick and strong as she stood with her foot planted a foot apart. She was not a thin, waif-like beauty the most female Vestas were, her curves were soft and perfect for me. Which, bro, I don't need to hear about your bro. I don't need to hear that. I don't want to know that. And it's pretty sad that we've already gotten a reference in this story, and we barely get Willow's name mentioned. Like,
maybe it really is all cocks in the end.
I suppose I should also mention the fact that Willow has a brother named Ash, who's like 6 years old, and she's doing everything she can to protect him from the realities of being a witch, which basically for male witches, according to the book, says that you have to make what's called the choice. And the choice is either you had the privilege of breeding or you had the privilege of magic. And she's trying to protect him from making that choice. So Ash gets pushed aside and goes into the kitchen ordered by his sister. And your boy Thorn tries to force his way into the house. Well, you think, man, this girl is just totally helpless. No, man, she got skills. She is like black belt in Rex Kwon Do or some shit, because she attacks him as he's trying to get in. My breath cut off. Sharp pain erupted from my throat as she crushed it. Her second strike went to my ball while I was still reeling from the fact that that vicious thing had attacked me. I covered my groin with both hands to protect myself from the foot she raised, leaving my chest open as she used it to shove me back a step. So with Thorn out of the house, Willow and Ash basically start running fight or flight style down a secret passageway that her and her mother built when she was younger, in order to get out of the house, because Thorn basically is like outside and is outside of the house and basically like, I need every single bit of this house spied on immediately in order to get this girl out into the school. Thorn figures out that she's out of the house and running, and it starts this long chase scene between chapter 5 and 8. In chapter 8, Thorn actually manages to get Willow pinned in a awkward position and sucks her blood, apparently, because apparently vessels are vampires. And they also got Ash, her brother, and in exchange for her brother's freedom and not being shown the way of the choice or whatever, she has to come to the school. And we get this little tip here where she's like, why are you doing this favor for me? And he's like, one day you owe me a favor for this. You will give me anything I ask of you, he said softly. So, that's not weird or strange or creepy at all, but that's how she ends up going to the school. I should also explain that Willow's mother is dead, as it is in the story, but originally she was in Crystal Hollow, but she faked her own death to escape the Covenant and went back to Vermont with her daughter at the time. So we go on into chapter 9, and they're driving in a car to, of course, Salem, Massachusetts, where Crystal Hollow is, because of course it would be Salem. And she's talking about how her plan is to seduce Thorn and get him to tell her where the bones of her ancestor is, so she could revive them. So going on with this car ride, Thorn and Willow are going back and forth with each other, and the driver of the car is like, "Would you two just already?" Like, damn. Like, wow, who says that to someone? Like, damn. And they keep going on and on about how there are people who want to just her, just want to bang. Also going on with this conversation, Willow is like, yeah, I'm the last in the Medusa line, so, I bet the Covenant would be eager to breed me. And I'm like, why do you have to bring up the breeding thing, bro? Come on. not that I'm shaming anyone who's into that, but it is a little weird to have that in dialogue, okay? Just a little weird. So they pull up to the school on a road, in a car, mind you, and I'm still not entirely convinced that the school's, like, magically protected or whatever, because they just drive on a road. At least in Gothakana, the school was like hidden deep in the woods and they had to drive off road, but here they don't really describe it. They just kind of just focus more on the discussion rather than the actual like place. Anyway, the car came to a stop in front of the main entrance and I didn't hesitate to shove open my door and stand before the school. The steps leading up to the doors were 6 in number. So are there 6? Okay, there are 6 doors. And does that mean there's like 6 doors? Like actual like doors, or are they double doors? Because I can't imagine the school having just 6 single doors. That'd be kind of weird, right? I don't know, but anyway. The steps leading to the doors were 6 in number. 6 steps, 6 doors, and 6 windows surrounding them. Oh, you get it? You get it? It's a Mark of the Beast reference, guys. Wow, so deep. The thing that they keep doing is they keep talking about Susanna, aka the lady who is a skeleton, and they keep talking about how she, well, for example, how her, quote, lipless mouth twisted into a wry smile. How is that possible without muscles? I don't understand. And they also keep using the words bony and skeletal to describe whenever her hand or moves towards a living person, which kinda gets annoying after a while. And I'm tired of it. Please stop doing it. Willow meets with the Coven, and not a whole lot happens in the discussion other than Susanna Adiza, aka Willow's skeletal great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, basically tells Thorne, like, LOL, no kid, you can't bang my granddaughter. And he's just like, psh, whatever, kid. And nothing happens, like I said, but going into the end of the discussion, a guy named Ivan, aka this guy that I can't help but to think about RuneScape's Ivan, because that's exactly how it's spelled, takes her to her room, but they have a slight misadventure where Willow sees like dying ivy on the wall and like revives it with her magic, but apparently it like taxes her heavily, and so she's like really exhausted afterwards. So Ivan's like, we gotta go to the infirmary. And for whatever reason, Thorne's there. I don't know why. Thorne is in the infirmary. And he sees her being all exhausted and delirious. And he's like taking off the cuff of his sleeve. And he's like, drink my blood. It'll help replenish your magic. I shook my head as I frowned, disgust rolling through my gut. If his blood was inside me, he'd have certain access to me, and I would be less able to fight. His compulsion would be stronger. He'd be able to sense me wherever I went. My emotions would be easier for him to feel as if they were his. And I'm just like, why exactly would his blood do that? It's not exactly like his blood stays in you forever, okay? It's not like that, so I don't understand. It just makes me feel like they needed like an excuse to give like to make him like force his blood on her, and she's just like, no, kid. Like, so in the next chapter, which is chapter 12, we're in Thorne's perspective again, and because he's the headmaster of the entire school, he has copies to the keys to everything. And he has a copy of the key into Willow's room. Willow is currently asleep, and he just, invites himself into his room as you do. And I kid you not, he sits down next to her and pulls her pants down. Now, I don't know how he does it without waking her up, but dang. He pulls her pants down. Hissed between my gritted teeth, forcing myself to stand from the bed and put distance between us as my hardened in my slacks and my fangs throbbed in the need to feed. I couldn't risk putting Crystal Hollow and my ability to cohabitate with the riches at risk, especially not for a witchling I just met. One thing was clear. I wanted to Willow Mediza. She just had to be awake when I did it.
What the hell is this?
Now, I have like a million different questions. First and foremost, why does he have a working penis anyway? I don't understand. He's supposed to be a corpse, basically. But evidently he has, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this scene is just so weird, so strange, but at the same time, it's so illegal. Like, you can't just pull people's pants down, bro, and then touch them. So we're on to the next chapter, and Willow leaves her room and is introduced to 3 witches from the school that are, like, her age. And one of them is a red, which, I don't know if you remember, is the bitch. And I don't understand the point of a witch. Like, is it just like, oh, you know, she's a sexy witch, ooh. But apparently, she doesn't like to be touched, because apparently it's supposed to come off as deep, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So we moved on to the next chapter, and we're in Thorne's perspective again, and they start to begin to talk about something that we haven't got a lot of information on, which is called the Reaping. The Reaping is an event that happens every now and again where the vessels are basically like vampires and they suck the blood out of witches because apparently they need witches' blood to sustain themselves. And apparently during this time they are blindfolded so they don't know whose blood they're sucking from. Or apparently they can just have just casual with whoever they are sucking the blood out of. I think that's what it says in the dialogue. It's a little weird, but, you know, whatever. Oh, not to mention the fact that apparently when Thorne went into her room, he pulled her pants down. He didn't even pull her pants back up. How the heck do you wake up and just be like, oh, my pants are down, that's weird, and not go like, that's really weird, like... In the next chapter, chapter 15, it's the end of class, but some of the students are still there, but they're preparing to leave. And Willow gets all up in Thorne's business, and to the point where like they're like grinding against each other to the point where he's like, quote, my string against my slacks. And I can just imagine the students are still in there, and they're just like,
Huh? Huh? Huh?
We're in chapter 16 where we're in Willow's perspective, and it's been a couple of days since Willow and Thorne had that spicy moment between each other. And Willow is in the library when Thorne just suddenly shows up, and Thorne is like, hey man, come into my office. And she's like, okay, I'll come into your office. And apparently his office is like super fancy and special, and it even has like a portrait of Lucifer falling from grace for whatever reason, because we can't beat you over the head with the secret of this story that much any harder. Anyway, they talk for a while about stuff, like, because apparently they haven't been talking to each other or even seeing each other the past couple of days. And Willow's like, why? And Thorne's like, because. And then he's like, they're basically going into this conversation about the Coven, and Thorne is like, hey man, you wanna remake the Coven with me, bro? And she's like, no, I don't want to remake the Coven with you. I just want to get out of here. And Thorne is like, but wait, they're trying to breed you with that guy Iban. And she's like, oh god, that's gross. I'm not a womb. And then he's like, okay, as long as you help me remake the Coven, I'll make sure that they don't do anything like that to you. And she's like, okay, we'll make the Coven. And they share another spicy moment, but nothing goes on, and then they just leave. Going into chapter 18, there's apparently some kind of now murder mystery going on for some reason, which kind of reminds me of Gothakana, where they had their own little murder mystery going on that they had to quickly wrap up at the end of the story. I'm not sure if it's going to end the same way, but we'll find out. Now, apparently we're in chapter 19, and Willow has this really strange dream where she sees her aunt, Charlotte Hecate, and she wakes up with, like, extreme pain in her back, and she finds out she's got a triangle on her back, and it's bleeding. And for whatever reason, Thorn shows up again, because of course he does, and he's like, oh man, that's called the Devil's Eye. He watches you closely. And immediately after that, they're apparently getting, like, really intimate with each other. My eyes roll back in my head as he found my with expert precision. Barely a whisper of touch over my heated skin. Tell me to stop, he said, sinking his teeth into my bottom lip. His eyes remained open, his holding mine as my breath came into a shuddering pant. Tell me you won't want this. Like, what? So, you're in pain, but apparently, time for sexy time. What? Going ahead in a couple of chapters, now we're in chapter 22, and we're in Willow's perspective. And we find out that Bony Grandma, aka Susanna, is the one who killed the witch earlier. Now, her reasoning for doing that is she's going to kill all the other witches, so the vessels no longer have any blood supply to keep going, and they all will eventually just die out, or I guess go back to hell. And Willow confronts her about it, and Willow's like, but we'll not have no more magic. And Susanna's like, some of us will, because apparently the vessels are forbidden from feeding upon the tribunal, who are basically just a council of the Coven. And Willow's bloodline will go on because she'll be a part of the Coven, or part of the tribunal, even though she's not finished her education yet. Going into chapter 24, we have a very interesting scene with Thorn and Willow, in Willow's perspective, where Thorn bends her over his desk in his office and has his way with her. It's pretty weird, to be honest with you. It's really weird. We go into the next chapter, and we're still in Willow's perspective. And guess what, guys? It's the reaping. The reaping's about to happen. The event where the vessels come in and suck your blood so they can sustain themselves? Yeah, that thing. And they go through it. George, one of the guys for the Coven, goes through it. Bony Man, him. He goes through it with the students. And the students are, like, talking to Will, like, oh, yeah, it's not that bad, guy. Don't worry about it. It's cool. So if you find a red slip at your door, you are bound to get the blood sucked out of you. But if you find another sticker at the door, guess what? You're going to have some more cardinal things happening to you. Yeah. Apparently. There's no way to stop this. This is just like, if you find 2 slips, apparently someone wants to fuck you. Which is doesn't stop Willow from going, what? And her not roommate, but someone who lives near her is like, don't worry about it, it's not that bad. But I'm like, bro, who wants to just smash? So going on with this whole reaping thing, so she's like, so her and her friend are, like, talking about it, about the whole, like, us having thing. Apparently, she has to get, like, stripped naked and, like, tied to a bed and blindfolded, too, because apparently we can't see each other in this whole thing. And I'm just like, this is really weird. This is really weird. So we jump a couple of chapters into chapter 30, and oh no, there's been another murder. Oh my god, it wasn't Susanna? No? Oh my god, it's been another murder. What are we gonna do, guys? And apparently there's this dumb prophecy where Charlotte Hecate, aka the witch that made the choice with the devil, foretold the witch born between two bloodlines would restore what had been lost to time. Oh no! Oh no! Does that mean Willow's gonna be the witch that's the prophecies foretold? Oh my god! We get into chapter 32, and apparently there is some stupid concept where if a vessel feeds repeatedly on a witch, they gain some of their power. So Thorn has fed on Willow several times in the story. So I guess now he has her power and apparently knows her secret that she's been keeping, that apparently she's a part of the Hecate bloodline. And now they're like confronting each other. And they're on the bed and keeps teasing her about how apparently she loves him. And they're talking back and forth, and the idea of comes up between witches and all that fun stuff. And there's this little quote here. It says, "There is magic in blood and some of the most potent that exists. On their 16th birthday, a female witch must choose a partner to give herself to. A witch doesn't dare risk her first time being with a vessel," he said, dragging another slow, torturous swipe of his tongue through me.
What the fuck is this?
Oh, don't tell me she's 16, bro. Don't tell me she's 16. We've never gotten her age before. Don't tell me she's 16.
In the criminal justice system, sexually based offenses are considered especially heinous. In New York City, the dedicated detectives who investigate these vicious felonies are members of an elite squad known as the Special Victims Unit. These are their stories.
In the next chapter, we have Susanna who confronts Willow, because apparently Susanna knows about her lineage, and then it proceeds to instruct her to say, "LOL, I don't have the bones of your ancestors, but it's okay, because I know Thorn does. Thorn is in fact the bad guy here." And she's like, "Oh god." And Susanna's like, "You gotta run, bro. You gotta run. Get out of here. Never come back." So Willow starts running, and I guess what surrounds the school are werewolves, because she gets chased down by a bunch of werewolves. And your boy Thorn comes in and saves the day, just like every other time. And they get into this discussion. So a lot of nonsense happens at this point, after Thorn saves Willow from the werewolves. We find out that he actually was the one who kept the bones of her ancestor, Charlotte, and forced her to revive Charlotte by using her brother Ash as basically the way, just like, "Oh, we'll kill him if you don't do it." And with Charlotte revived, she opens the door into hell, and demons start spilling out all over the place. I mean, like, we're talking like demons, like archdemons, like the cool guys. And at the end, yeah, our boy Thorn sheds his vessel, and he's Lucifer, which, yeah, that's kind of a dumb twist. Like, the dude had a picture of himself in his office, okay? Like, how into yourself can you be, bro? And besides the fact that he didn't really act Lucifer-like in the story at all, but apparently he is Lucifer, so. And, yeah, that's the end of the book. Interesting read, to say the least. Very interesting. Better than Gothicana, I will say. Not as stupid as Gothicana, but still pretty stupid in its ways. But if you made it this far, cool. I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that. If you liked this video and you want to subscribe, I'd love to have you. And if you want me to read the sequel to this book, just let me know. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.